Good morning to all of the participants around the world joining for our weekly Eurythmy class. I've been doing these classes since June, and many of you have been with me virtually the entire time. It's great to have been sharing Tuesday morning space with you. And we're going to continue doing that into the weeks ahead. If you check on your Zoom, on the email that I send out to you, you'll see that we were able to create some intentions around our programs going forward, because I know these classes are so rich, and those of you who are finding sustenance and enthusiasm with these rich classes, I'd like to go deeper with you, doing planets and constellations as we go into the spring. And for those of you who have less time, we're going to make also some shorter lessons so that you can have a compact personal eurythmy practice. And we've also figured out a way to work with this so that in the spring, we will start a new beginners series. And with that, then I hope to open up eurythmy for those of you who are possibly new, because I recognize we have gone so deeply into our work that the newcomers, and there might even be some of you here today, will have a hard time running to catch up with what we're doing. So this is our plan going forward. I have gotten some wonderful emails in the last couple of days, and I'd like to just reflect on them a little bit before we start. One of them was from a woman who has done eurythmy for many years. She also saw me quite a few years ago doing performances, and she brought a question. And this question was, how is it that when you watch a eurythmy performance, when I watch a eurythmy performance, she said of herself, sometimes, but not always, I can see the space all around the eurythmus being sculpted, moved, flowing. She said sometimes it's possible to see the space around the eurythmus filling the entire hall from floor to ceiling. And to her, my response will be, that's when eurythmy is real. If a eurythmus is not doing that, but merely moving agilely in their own body with a kind of marvelous athleticism, it's not really eurythmy. It's a great kind of lively dance. But with eurythmy, we are actually moving our etheric body, our life body. And so when we do a form, it should move the space, and it should feel to the audience like an ocean wave, for instance, running through the hall. Doesn't always happen, but that's what our training should be, because the human etheric body is much larger than the physical body. However, we must never forget that in order to do that, a eurythmus must be thoroughly grounded, working through the bones and the flesh and the blood so that every part of us is engaged and accessible to this etheric force. So that's what we're doing. All of these exercises, the rod exercises, the pentagrams, the peace exercise, are all about learning to be fully present so that the etheric body can work in us and around us. So let's keep that in mind. One more point I would like to bring. A woman wrote to me, you might even be here, but I'll leave you unnamed, who said she is suffering from metastatic bone cancer and really suffers in doing these exercises or in standing for very long. But she said that after the lesson, she lies down and she can visualize, sometimes with the help of her husband, visualize all of the exercises that we have done. And she can visualize herself standing and doing them. And she asks, is this real? Is this helpful in any way? To that I say yes, because what she's doing is visualizing exactly that etheric body that I spoke about. And even if she can't move it through her own bones anymore, she is building forces for the future where she knows, even unto death and through death, she's knowing how this life body appears. So these are some of the extraordinary things that Eurythmy offers and why it's such a very important practice for us to work on. So glad that you're with us. Share this work. Work on your own personal Eurythmy practice. If you read my essay from yesterday, you saw that we, in moving through the end of October, we're moving towards the festival of All Hallows Eve on Saturday, All Saints Day, and All Souls Day. Michael has given the strength to come through October, almost at the end of it. And now we go through what in some respects is the darkest month of the year, as the year closes down before the festival of birth in the heart of darkness, which happens just after winter solstice. When that happens, new life springs in the human spirit. But November is a time of looking at, working with death. Once again, please read again the email that I sent out yesterday. Lots of writing about that. And at the end of our lesson today, we will do the Hallelujah. It's an invocation as a gift to our dearly beloved. And I invite you to work with that through the weekend ahead, through the festivals ahead, and all the way through November. Thank you so much. With those words, let's begin with the peace exercise. We'll continue then with contraction expansion, with rod exercises. We'll go into colors, we'll go into vowels, and then we'll go into some more spatial forms, and we'll do our verse. So there's a lot to go through, and you are learning to harvest those parts of our practice that will help you to become more agile, more alive, more conversant with how your physical, etheric, astral, and ego bodies work together. Thank you for being here. All right, step into your space and take a nice stretch. You're present, fully here. You remind yourself of the Eurythmy meditation that we've worked on already. I won't speak the whole meditation today, but you remember that you are seeking within yourself to understand how the whole world lives inside you. Now, in preparation for the peace exercise, you are fully present. Feel the stars above your head, the earth below your feet. Living light. Feel the width of the world. Remind yourself of the difference between front space and back space. Now we'll prepare to move that. Create the cross. Feel the 6 directions. You are stretching into 2 of them physically, above, below, right, left. And then you have to remind yourself of front and back. You got it? And now we'll move through this. Again, you don't have to bend or to kneel into this. I will, and if you can, you do. Yes. We go down into gravity from where the body comes, up into lightness from where the spirit comes, and back to hold the balance in the middle. The world of the senses draws us in. Feel your back space before you spread back into your wing space. The world of spirit releases us. Inside your heart, you hold an image of the whole world. And this time I will not go all the way down so that those of you who can't can see how I do this. But if you can go down, go ahead. And we'll go down into gravity, up into lightness, back to hold the balance in the middle. Feel your front space, all the surfaces of the front of your body. The world of the senses draws us in. The world of spirit releases that. Feel wonder as you go back. Inside your heart, you hold an image of the whole world. Breathe. And with this last time, really take your heart energy very authentically and spread it out into your hands. Your hands should feel different now. Perhaps remembering what I said about what it's like to move your aura around you. Feel that your hands are moving through the space around you, and give peace to your space. May peace be below me on this beautiful earth. Turn your hands upwards. Feel your hands going through space as if through water. May peace be above me. May peace be all around me. Feel yourself filling space. As you go forwards into the world of the senses, go with peace and gratitude. May peace be before me. May peace be behind me. And may peace be within me. Feel yourself. This is really all that you have. This inner space, your wisdom space. But this inner space is connected to eternity. You have an inside door to the spirit. Breathe with that. And from here, we will do our contraction expansion exercise. Inside each of us is the infinite center. Now open up. All around us is the infinite eternity. And they are yin and yang, they are identical, just at opposite extremes. Infinite center and the infinite distance. Again, I keep my eyes neutral, but here my gaze becomes inward. I don't look down, but I feel inward. And here, as I turn my energy around, my eyes are big, my feeling is big, my gaze is open. But again, I'm not really looking with my eyes, I'm looking with my entire periphery. Let's do it again. Within my heart shines the light of the sun. Within my soul weaves the warmth of the world. I will breathe the light of the sun. I will feel the warmth of the world. Light of the sun pour into me. And warmth of the world flow through me. Take a good breath. Feel yourself present. Thank you. Take your rod, little rod work. Helps us to get into our bones, into our sense of presence. Again, I do it every day. Here we go. Starting at neutral. Oh, excuse me just a second. There might be a couple of newcomers here who haven't done any rod exercises. If you haven't, go back and find module 3 on the YouTube recordings. And those 6 lessons, we learned very carefully how to do all of these. Here we go. We go down into gravity, up into levity, to the right side, to the left side, to the right side, above, below, in the middle. Again, and I like to feel, as I said to you before, this is like my coffee exercise. It's very precise. Wakes me up, clears the cobwebs away. Right, left, right. This one is all about physical precision. 4, 5, 6, 7. One more in standing, below, above, right, left, right, above, below, in the middle. Today I won't do it in standing. At home, please do. But let's go on and do the 12-foot exercise. We haven't done this for a couple of weeks. You remember my thumbs are in front of the rod. Newcomers, I think you'll find this in the 3rd lesson, I think, or the 4th of module 3. Here we go. We tuck this up under the arms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 1, 3, inhale, exhale. And breathe up, breathe down, move it around in gravity. This one is for the rhythmic system, more for the etheric body, whereas the 7-fold was for the physical body. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remember what I said before about moving the space around you. Feel, when you're ready, when you can, to feel that the rod is not just going through physical space, but you're actually affecting the air around you as if it's water, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And your inner etheric body is going with this. Your inner etheric body is lightened and weighted. And rest. Okay, let's do the waterfall. And remember to make this wonderful movement through the air all around you. Behind, you can either drop it from here or rest it on your shoulder. Of course, if you've got a collar on, you'll struggle with it. Have to get it beyond the collar. This is weighted. Remember to come around heavily. Up we go. Up and behind and catch. And again, up. And again, if you have a collar, remember you've got to get it below the collar or hold it far enough away from your neck and around. And remember, what's important is the journey and not the success. A beautiful arc all the way around. You complete the arc by dropping and catching. Boom, grounding. Thank you. Okay, now put the rods away. And I'm going to return to the colors that we've been working on. In some ways, this experience is quite similar to contraction expansion because that has an inherent relationship to colors, but they're not identical experiences. You remember we started with blue and with yellow. And let's just refresh them. We start with the blue, which is a deep color. It's deep and rich. We call that in color theory a color that's behind the light, but I shan't take the time to give a whole teaching about that. It's behind light, like the sky is behind the sun. There are different colors of blue. There is deep blue, which is down here. There's sky blue, which has much less, well, I'll call it gravity, but that's not the exact word for it. Blue is rounded. Blue contains, blue holds. Blue likes to be a gown of protection, a motherly protection around the child. Blue arms are always holding space. For those of you who know the sound B, you'll know that this is a natural match to the experience of B. I am practicing moving through the space. I'm teaching my arms how to feel blueness. Let me step a little bit closer. You don't need to see my legs right now. I'm teaching my arms to feel blue. It's not quite drama that I'm doing, but I'm feeling what it is if I ask my whole self to round into this containment. I'm also feeling my backspace as I do this here. This realm is a natural realm for the blue, but these are the dark blues, from midnight blue through navy blue. Up here we start to go into cobalt blue, but then if we get up here, and I want to stay in blue, I'll be like this, and I feel that I am in the sky blue that's holding the sun. Pigment is light here, pigment is deeper, and here I'm going back towards midnight blue. The warm embrace of the blue holds the bowl of the world. Now paint your energy differently, and we'll remember how yellow feels. Yellow wants to be radiant, it wants to be high, but there's no muscle tension in it, or whatever tension there is, it's just selflessly yellow, streaming yellow. I have not got my chest puffed out, I'm not exerting. That comes with a different color. Yellow is selflessly radiant. I can also way down there have a yellow foot that would look like this. Yellow. If I move in a yellow way, I'm not pushing. I just let myself move in light yellow. How is green created? As we looked at last week, green is the marriage of yellow and blue. And where streaming and rounding meet, we come to peaceful green. Peaceful green is holding the balance between those polarities. Peaceful green is sometimes angular, but this angularity is always sensing if it's going to go into light or into darkness. Green holds peace and equanimity. We like to bend it or cross it like this. A meeting of light and roundness. Peaceful green. This is the home color of the phlegmatic temperament. Think here of fields of green, springtime, spread out over the horizon. Let's make a little bit of yellow green from here. If we go up a little bit, we get into the yellow greens. And if we Go down a little bit and around. We go into deeper greens. With this, I hope you see the colors are not just formulaic, they're an experience. So all the different shades of color can be explored through movement. Remember, colors are spiritual realities, essentially. And as I said before, they're not just pigments. And again, enjoy knowing the colors of your own soul. And then last week, we also learned red. And you remember I said red has got this assertive quality. And red is this convex curve. Red is what we call a color in front of the light, and it pushes out. So again, I did it last week in profile, you remember, because I want to show how the entire body will curve into this. So before you move, think, especially if you're choleric, you'll find a way into this, but think of really asserting your energy into a situation from your feet upwards. And we start down here to get our good red. Can you see the space I'm moving? Not just my body. Red. And if you were in a Eurythmy class, you and all your classmates would be attacking each other in the center of the circle. Red and red. Perhaps you can think of someone that you would like to red right now. Go ahead, give it to them in a playful way. Red. Ask yourself, when do you need this energy in your life? When? Later, as we work with the planets and as we work with more poems, you'll see how we integrate these colors into our artwork. But I want you to really think of them as realities here. What would orange be? What happens if red and yellow meet? I've urged you to feel yellow as the selfless streaming, and red is a self-filled pushing. What happens where they meet? If we were only in a class, you would tell me what you think, but it's probably not hard. Instead of having a selfless streaming, you have a pushing streaming. And the more you push into that yellow streaming, the more orange it becomes. How different is that from the selfless, weightless yellow? Again, orange. Yes. And again, orange. It need not be egotistical, but it is full of self-awareness. But not quite as much in your space as the red is. The more it is actually pushing in towards red, the more red your orange becomes, the more you will actually start to push your arms back. So a balanced or a less extreme orange will look like this. I've got lots of muscle tension here. My arms are somewhat rigid in contrast to yellow. Here is the orange. But if I give it more red, I can hardly increase that tension in my hands unless I start to push it like this. Till finally it gets into red. So let's go again. Yellow, orange, orange, red, red. Again. Yellow, orange, orange, red, red. breath, you can see what one of the things that's so much fun in Eurythmy is because you, out of yourself, you learn how to create the different moods in yourself. In life, these moods come upon us. In Eurythmy, they become the palette of our creativity. We have one more color to look at, and that's violet. One more color realm to look at. Violet, purple, where do they live? In the meeting between blue and red. Can you imagine how that will look? Let's begin again by creating the blue energy. Mothering, protective, sheltering. But this blue energy can hold violet, can hold the red inside itself. This blue does not have muscle tension, but if you put red inside it, you'll feel that there is a tension pushing outwards from within, and you need to balance it with the kindly blue around it. So here is the blue, and now I will purple it or violet it like this. And it can be here. Yeah. There's something happening inside my cloak of blue. Now please let the blue win to keep it in the violet realm. So here is the blue. And inside the blue is this happening. But be sure to keep the blue on the outside of it. If we let the red get really stronger, then it will start to kind of break out a little bit. It starts to go more into violet. But if the blue is holding it, that went more into the purple when the red is getting stronger. But if the blue is holding it more, we have the violet. And now let's think about that in life. We can take that one more step further. Purple, violet are considered the colors of the priests or the colors of kings. In Japan, for instance, the king is always purple, his robes. So what if we take this one more step and try to internalize this violet or purple color a little bit more? And I want to teach you this experience, that you pull the blue, you let the blue come all around you, become as if enfolded in your blue. If you can see what the experience that I'm creating, I'm held all around me, but I let the sacred red be working inside me as an intensity of experience. So here's the blue and there's the red. We can call it inner focus of the priest. We can call it piety of prayer. So in here is an incredibly intensified experience. Can you create that feeling in yourself? Imagine the hermit, the monk, in quiet prayer, not just holding silence, but holding silence with an inner fervor of activity. Violet. Let's ask ourselves how it would be with the purple of a king, in which case the king holds the same inner intensity, but shines it out a bit more. I know myself, I know my responsibility for my people. I shine it, but I am really showing that I'm present, whereas the monk holds it a little bit more inward. And rest. Thank you. Now we will be able to go on with a few more color experiences in the weeks to come. And I invite you to really dwell on how these colors live in your own soul. Let's go on now, however, to what we're doing with the vowels, because today at long last, we're going to look at the two other vowels, archetypal power vowels, the I and the ow. Once again, I wrote about that a bit in yesterday's PDF, and take time to read that. Let's first of all remember the 5 major vowels, A, E, O, and U. We'll do them in the different realms, and later we'll practice having much more flexibility in where we put these sounds. But we'll take now, again, the archetypal A upwards. I open to spirit and it floods me. I am filled from the stars. And now to begin to build my individuation, I create the A. But I am not fully mature until this light of the A arises in my own heart, and then I know myself in balance between heaven and earth, between outside and inside in the E. In the E, each of us is evolving to become a full ego-aware being, but we still have great work in front of us as we learn to create community and discover how we are deeply connected as egos. We're not really centered, so selfish or shut inside ourselves. We're really part of community. And then when we all as individual humans unite, we will create the experience lifting heaven to earth, letting earth reflect the heavens. Ooh. And again. And we will have ah, A, E, O, U. And as I said, all of these sounds can be in different zones. Ah, I love the world. A, E, O, O. And we are living these just like we live the colors all the time at every instant in life. I am open. I am focused. I am streaming into a direction with intention. I embrace. I ground, I root, I stream. Any direction. They're all valid, but they all have different shades of experience, and we would do different vowels in different zones according to the words we do. Once again, guarded from harm, cared for by angels, here stand we, our souls full of love. We seek to be true. We seek to be good. Ooh. Thank you. We'll do so much more of that as we go forwards in Eurythmy. As we learn to be more expressive, we learn to know our names and things. But let's go now to the sounds I and ow. Each sound is each of these pure vowels is connected to one of the archetypal planets in the sky known through the history as the gods of Greece and so on. Each of them lives as an archetype in our own body. And in this series of consonants, we're missing two very important planets. And that's the sun, which is the inspiring force of ow, and the moon, which is the inspiring force of I. We've learned 5 other planets. I shan't teach them right now, but I really need to do ow and I today. Let's look at the ow first, the majestic sound. And if you practice saying it, you'll hear that it is a mixed sound, a combination vowel. Think of it, for instance, in the word ow. This is the sound we're looking for. Ow. This is also the sound for the word aurum, gold. Ow. Or thou. And I'm sure all of you who speak English immediately thought, but why do we also say that for ow? That hurts. And this ow, we will immediately discover, can be both lofty and as great as the gods, but it can also be self-reflected into our inner experience. And sometimes, not always, that hurts, and so on. Ow, in its primal form, is written au, as an aum. So we create the aum by first remembering what the ah is, and then remembering what the oo is. And we shall combine these. How do we create both at once? One arm will do the ah, the other the oo. I'll do mine out to my left side. Doesn't matter though. We must learn to do it in both. This arm will create the ah, and this arm will parallel it. Do you see how? They're parallel lines. And this is the oo. And with this, I find it's really striking to think of the Egyptians as sun worshippers. It has a very lofty feeling. Ow, thou, O Lord, art mighty. Thou art great. I'll do the other direction. Ow, my soul is flowing outwards. I open myself and I direct my reverent experience in the direction of the arms. Again. Ow. Ow. And I will take this ow across the skies this time, like this. Ow. Ow. The other way. Ow. This is the most archetypal ow. Practice feeling such wonder and grandeur. But ow can also go down towards the earth. Ow. Opening and containing. Ow. And then if we want to bring it into a microcosmic level, we have a very interesting way. This microcosmic ow is created by laying hand on hand against the body. How can we understand this? My arms from my elbows out are ahing, and they come together in a holding in an ooh. And this is, for instance, for aurum in the heart medicine, ow. Or it can come into pain, like ow, ow. It can come into that, or it can come into the feeling of a crown on your head. Ow. These are the sounds of the sun, always noble and grand. And then the I sound. Please listen to that. How does that go? I. If we really listen into it, it's a combination sound, and it moves from ah into e. I. We're used to saying it quite quickly, I, but it actually is I. And as you know, Rudolf Steiner worked in German, and he said the German I, which actually has much more A in it than our I does. The German, the archetypal I, spreads from I, A, E, I. It's got more tension in it. So let's create the German experience. First of all, we'll start with the experience of ah, move it into A, and then shine it into E. Again, preparing our experience. I. But we don't actually move it like that. What we do is go from side to side like this. I. A, E. I. Here's your ah. Ah, we cross in the center and emerge with E. Ah, here, not perfectly symmetrical. We're headed into this moving experience. A, E. Again, it's not as perfect ah, I. And now let's take that more into the English A, in which the crossing is not cultivated as carefully. In English, we have more I. We begin with the feeling of wonder and openness. Move it through our hearts. And emerge with self-knowledge. And let's just take a moment to marvel at how that is how the English language experiences selfhood. Whereas other languages, for instance, Italian goes yo, and Spanish goes yo. Each language has its own way of speaking self. I hope maybe we can do that sometime. That's a fun class to teach, research that. But in English, our sense of self says, what is the world? Ah. Out of that, I awaken to self-knowledge. E. I. And rest. And now we have all 7 primary vowels And the next week we'll go further. Now, so I would love to give you a way to practice the vowels in space. We've been moving straight lines. Remember how we have done straight lines forward, straight lines back, straight lines to the side, and then straight lines on a triangle or a 5-pointed star. We'll come to that in a moment. But I want to remember with you that we've also been working on the curves, the circles, how to feel the space around you. Please don't cease practicing that. And then we've also been practicing how to do spirals. We just began that 2 lessons ago. Last week we did more with it. Please work on that. We'll be needing that coming forwards in the time ahead. Spirals. Continue with that practice, but now I want to go back to the 5-pointed star, which we did in the 2nd webinar series. And with the 5-pointed star, let me draw one here for you, as I've done before. Remember this is all in the PDF I sent you. Remember, when we draw a form in Eurythmy, we have to know where the audience is, where the front of the room is. We'll get to that in a second. First, I'm going to draw a star. I'm going to begin with the top of the star. And I haven't pre-marked the board. It might be asymmetrical. I'll do my best. I'm also not standing straight, right? I will go from the head down to the right foot. And then from the right foot, across and up, diagonally across and up to the left arm, straight across to the right arm. This is, in fact, a bit asymmetrical. Diagonally down to the left foot and back up to the head. This is the form of the star that we'll practice. This is the archetype of the human being. And now we have, when we draw a form in Eurythmy, we have to say where the bottom or the top of the form is. I drew this, listen carefully, I drew this as if I were, my goodness, that's asymmetrical, but I was standing sideways, right? Forgive me. As if I were sitting in an auditorium, looking at the eurythmist, and the eurythmist, if the stage were like this, the eurythmist would be in the back of the room, and they would come flowing towards me and back away from me. I hope you see that. I'll say that once again. This is P, and it means public. Here I am, I'm sitting in the audience. I hold it like this. The eurythmist stands in the back of the stage and comes this way towards me. 2, 3, 4, 5. But from the eurythmist experience, we have to hold the form like this to move it correctly. When you get your paper on the PDF, you'll struggle your way through with this. The eurythmist will be moving from the back of the stage to the front. Maybe I should do it like this. Here I am. I will move that way, that way, that way, that way, and that way to the person sitting in the audience. But now if I'm going to memorize this form, I'm going to have to, again, you'll probably need to look at your paper. For myself to learn how to move this, I have to turn the board upside down so that I'm standing in the back of my movement space, starting at the top of the star, and I see the star in front of me. If you were in the audience, you would see me far away from you at the top of the star, moving towards you. So I'm going to walk the 5 ways of the stars now. I'm going to walk from my head to the foot. I'm going to walk away from the audience, this way to my left, straight across to my right, diagonally to my left, and back to where I started. In this case, I'm doing 3 steps in each direction. Once again, we did practice this in the second webinar series. And let's try this again. I walk from the head to my right foot over there, to my left arm, straight across to my right arm, to my left foot, back to my head. So dear friends, if you've practiced this already, you should have the spatial orientation already going. Straight across to the right, diagonally forwards, I cross my foot in front here, diagonally back, and I test myself. Do I get home? I test myself. Was my form symmetrical? Friends, you'll need weeks to get this to work well for yourself. So if it's a little stressed, don't worry. But I'm going to turn around this time and do it with you, so that if I were leading a class of students, we would be looking at the stage or looking at the blackboard or the front of the room. As a class, you're going to move with me. I'm at the head of my star now. I'm not on the stage. I'm with you, looking forwards. I'm going to go to my right foot there. 1, 2, 3. Going to go to my left arm. Follow me, students. 3, straight across. 1, 2, 3, that way. 1 to the front of the room, come. And now we all go back and land where we started. Now we want to do this together with the vowels. We will practice this week for the first time, and we'll grow it as we go. But we go on the first way of the star with ah. On the second way of the star with a. On the third way with e. On the fourth way with o. On the fifth way with oo. Are you back? Now we're going to do this again, and I'm going to make it out. This is what I wanted to get to with you today. We're going to add something to it. We're going to start in the middle of the star. We're going to walk backwards with ow, the first sound. And then we will walk a, e, o, oo on the 5 ways of the stars. And then we'll conclude by coming into the little moon sound in the center of the star. Ow, ah, a, e, o, oo, I. This is extraordinarily formative to do this. So strengthening for the soul. It's a therapeutic exercise. It's good for your inner organs. It's good for consolidating self-knowledge. I've been actually trying to get you to this point for weeks and weeks. So we'll come back to it and learn it, but let's see what we can do today. Again, I will begin in the center of my star. You, class, are all behind me. We will go backwards with 3 small steps with, or once, it doesn't matter, but a very short line with the sound ow. You don't speak, Even when you're alone practicing without me, you won't speak. You'll hear the sounds inwardly and move them with your body. But I will speak for you. Ow. Ah. E. E. O. O. I. Rest. Ow. Ah. E. E. O. O. I. Rest. Backwards with the glorious sun. Ah. Feeling the wonder. Ah. Boundaries. A. Light, yellow filled. E. Warm and golden. O. Earnest. Ooh. Slow steps on the ooh. I. Inner selfhood. And rest. So that, friends, was a deep immersion. Fortunately, we have several weeks ahead of us to continue developing that, and we'll be able to layer that into our exercise with the poem that we'll be doing, Into the Depths of the Earth, Lead the Paths that we tread. Let us do that, the Hallelujah now. I actually am deeply longing to do this poem, but we're going to wait and do that next week. I want to do the Hallelujah with you again today. As I promised, we do that in honoring the souls of the departed, those people who are part of our human race, who are really not very far away from us at all. They're right here. You can think, I have two dear friends who have passed in the past 6 weeks. Pull in your people, call them, let them be part of us. We have done the Hallelujah in several lessons. We worked on it especially in webinar 2. And at the conclusion of webinar 2, you'll see, if you don't remember, we did the Hallelujah 3 times. Today we'll just do it 1 time, but I'm offering it to you as just to refresh us with this. And I urge you to do it 3 times in your daily practice or before you go to bed, at least for the next week, if you can, or at a minimum on All Hallows Eve, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, as you give particular love to what's happening in the twilight zones around us. And you let your loving intention flow into them. Hallelujah, composed of the sounds that make up the word. You know yourself to be a carrier of light and intention in the world. Around you, the space is filled with the consciousnesses of other beings, and you fill the space with your best intentions. Begin the Hallelujah feeling. I purify myself of everything that hinders me from looking upon God. The sound H. I open myself to the spirit. Ah, I feel the light of the spirit, and I lead it through all the realms. It shines upon the earth. Ah. Now with a series of 7 L's, beginning small, we cleanse our feet. We cleanse our knees. We cleanse our lower bodies, our inner bodies. We cleanse the heart. This L opens like a flower. We cleanse our speaking. May it be true. We cleanse our thinking. We cleanse the whole self. A. I stand at the threshold to the spiritual world. In grace, the spiritual world opens to me. I cleanse spirit seeing. I cleanse spirit hearing. I cleanse spirit knowing. Ooh. From the earth, I gather all my forces. I lead all of them back to the spirit. And then with the E, from the spirit, I receive my ego, my I am E. And the beautiful I open all that I offer, all that I am, back to my creator. And the breath of the creator returns me to myself. And rest. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you also for your rightful exchanges of energy by your donations so that the energy stays balanced. And we're going to take a few minutes now for questions and answers. So Michelle, can you open us up? Michelle?
I'm here.
There you are. I knew you were.
At this moment, we have comments and gratitude flowing in. And at this moment, we don't have questions yet, but we can open up the opportunity for questions to flow in.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we've done a lot today. I very much hope that this pentagram did not confuse you, that you'll be able to find your way with this. And you've got a lot more to work on today. As always, I'm committed to taking it further as we go the next weeks.
Here we have a question from Genevieve. She said, sometimes I see your thumb up and sometimes tucked in when doing the O gesture. Does this matter?
It is so much better when I remember to have it tucked in. It's like a little elemental being that's running out of here. Put it down. Thank you.
Unless you're playing the harp, but for Eurythmy, down it goes. Lori asks, with the owl, is it correct to look slightly up and to the side instead of straight ahead?
This is a really, really good question. As always, I don't actually use my eyes and focus. As I told you last week, I practice open gaze. But yes, you see that I am with my ears, with my eyes, I'm listening in that direction, but I'm not craning my neck to see over there. Yeah, my attention flows there. Yes.
Wonderful. And then, wait a second. The chat jumped. Okay, here we go. Regine said, not quite sure how to integrate the colors in the practice. I do love the experience of the colors in itself, however.
Mhm. Thank you. I haven't given you a poem for it yet. These are things that we're going to be working on later, most especially when we get to the work with the planets. But later I will be asking you, can you feel possibly yellow energy in the ah, although the ah is not inherently yellow? Can you feel streaming yellow in the ooh? And so on. Each sound can be done with a kind of yellow feeling also. And Regina, for instance, when I work on the pentagram, I can practice doing the pentagram with yellow energy streaming, or I can practice it with red energy and so on. So you can begin to be a bit inventive in moving in these different colors. And yet I acknowledge that so far we've only just scratched the surface of them. We haven't had enough opportunity to go as deeply into them as we can. We might, for instance, choose to color an entire poem in one or another hue. So you can practice reading poetry to yourself in different colors, for instance. Let it open a door. There's more coming.
That sounds like fun. June asked, could you review the I-A-E gesture again?
The I-A-E, I wonder if you mean the I.
Yes,
if we,
yes.
In the German form, the first way I showed you was ah, which then moves into A, which moves into E. Yeah. And then in learning the German I, we start with an ah here. Let the ah, now watch how the outside arm has to go a little quicker. I to get into the center, and then the arm that was in the center flows into the E. So then I repeat it the other way, create this ah. The flowing arm goes quicker in the beginning, and then the other arm, I. Little tiny, sometimes we do it palms down, I. Look at this, here's a little tiny ah, I. See,
Beautiful.
like that.
Ben asks, does the life body have a different meaning than etheric body to me? Sometimes when I say etheric or causal, I feel like I'm connecting to uncreated energy of God. But when I say life body, I feel the full pranic trinity of spirit or mother and Christ. Not sure if this is just personal or something deeper.
Yeah, so I am borrowing very directly from Rudolf Steiner's language, where we speak primarily of four bodies. It can get a little more differentiated as we go into it. Physical body has a strong relationship to the mineral element. It's the tangible body. The etheric body is the life body, which keeps us alive and integrates material into life processes as long as we're alive, and does that as well with the plants. This is what we call the life body or the etheric body. It's different from the causal body in our terminology, which is closer to the astral body. And the astral body has different levels of semi-consciousness, all the way up to a consciousness that's almost fully developed self-consciousness. The causal body, the astral body, processes sensations, listen to our consciousness, processes inner experiences, processes our intentions and our higher strivings. These are all different levels of vibrations of the astral body. And an extract of that is what is known as causal. But it's that's closer to the soul. The etheric body is a biological body. And yeah, we'll stop. Well, that'll be enough for now.
There we go. Okay, June asks, are both palms facing in the same direction with the ow?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then Vivian asks, would you be willing to show us the 12-fold rod exercise with your back to us so we can see how the rod ends up in the crook of the elbows? Thanks.
Yes, I'll do that one time here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now remember, when we practice this, when we learned this in the second webinar, I had to teach you how to turn your hands around. This is count 5. This is count 6. That makes it possible because then you can get 7, 8, 9, 10. I take it around to the front and I grip it to put my hands the way that they need to be to get back to count 1. That's the trick.
That helps. Thank you.
Yeah.
Janine asks, is it possible to do an expansion contraction sequence with the colors, like a moving sunrise, sunset, or rainbow gesture, or
It is.
seasons?
It is. Have fun with that. I haven't taught it to you yet, but that's where your own artistry can start to look for things. Remember, you're looking for shades of muscle tension as you go through them, and shades of rounding and moving from concave to convex and things like that. Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful. That brings us to the end of questions. There are more comments for you in the chat. Wait a minute, there's one more question. Susan
Let's
asked,
make this
here we go.
the last one. Yeah, do
If
it.
it's painful to get the rod into the crook of your elbows in the 12-foot rod exercise, is that just a matter of working on posture, back bends, opening up the chest?
Back bends, I like it. Yes, it should be able. Yes, it is just, it should be able. So I've got it down here and I just pop it up. And you know how many exercises we're doing just to open up the backspace so you can, yeah, that's like, it's just like our spirit, our relationship to spirit is so asleep. So our relationship to the backspace is so painfully undeveloped. That's our spirit space. And I can't tell you enough how much we should work on that. So yes, it is just a question of that, unless you have something anatomically different. And always, if I'm working with a live patient, we find ways to accommodate particular misbuildings in the anatomy. So maybe you've got that, I don't know. But if you can get back there, do it.
There we are. Well, thank you.
Thank you, good people. You will get your file today, your PDF later on today. And we all thank Michelle for her wonderful mediation. Thank you, Michelle.
You are welcome. It's a pleasure.
Okay, we'll see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.